Welcome back to Elite Sports Talk. Today is a special day. I have my cousin Bones with me, and we are going to break down free agency for NHL, free agency for NBA. We're going to get into a little bit of some of the stuff that's going on in the NFL. And if we have time, we'll get to some more likelies. And always remember, for Elite Sports Talk content, if you want to listen to the episodes, they are found wherever podcasts can be found, especially on Spotify. When it comes to video, you can watch the full episodes on Rumble or YouTube. And always remember to check out the Elite Sports Substack for really all kinds of cool content. And a lot more is going to be coming with the NFL right around the corner. Before we get into it, Bones, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I just happy to be here with you, and hopefully I can give you some good insight.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
We'll start things off on the ice. So, first thing up is, like I said, the NHL, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have been doing a lot right now in the offseason. And some of these moves they've been making are honestly monumental moves. I mean, they go from a team who really was not that good last year, dealt with a lot of injuries, bad defensive play. And I think they may have addressed some of these problems that they were having. What do you think, Bones?
I mean, whenever you sign a two-time Stanley Cup champion goaltender, I think that's going to up your chances a lot. And so, to top that with the talent of Austin Matthews and William Nylander, they definitely have made some strides in that conference. I think, though, they're still going to have problems with Florida and Carolina. Carolina's top six is dangerous. Their speed, their skill, scoring ability, and being able to kill penalty. Their penalty kill is amazing. Is signing a goaltender going to get them over the hump? I don't know, but I think that they're going to be definitely better than they've been in the past. I would say I don't think Stanley Cup for them this year, but I do think that a conference final showing could be there.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I mean, you start with the top down, and obviously they replaced their head coach. Now they have Jim Hiller, who has gone 93, 58, and 24 in 175 games. He is best known for being the Kings coach. He had a 21-12-1 record with 43 points in 34 games, the 23-24 season. Then the 24-25 season, he went 48-25-9, had 105 points in 82 games. And then last year, it was a bit of a shorter season, 59 games, 24-21-15, and had 62 points. And like you mentioned, they have a two-time Vezina Trophy winner and a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion now, and Bobrovsky. They signed him to a 3-year, $21 million deal with an annual average of $7 million. And I mean, last year was arguably the worst year of his career. He allowed 2.61 goal average per game, .912 save percentage. That's overall rather. Last year though, he was 16th best in terms of win percentage. He was 43rd in terms of goal average per game. He allowed over 3 goals per game. And he was really awful with his save percentage. It was a .877 last season alone. That makes him the 53rd best goalie. But he did have 4 shutouts, which is crazy. That's actually the 3rd best in the NHL. It was the lowest save percentage of his career, the second highest goals on average allowed of his career. second most losses of 9 seasons where he had 50 or more starts in between the pipes. And but other than that, I mean, when you really look at their team now, when they went out, they drafted the number 1 overall kid out of Penn State. And like you said, with Austin Matthews and William Nylander, I think that this whole roster is revamped and they're looking in the right direction. And I definitely have them as a playoff team. And I want to also agree with you and say that, maybe they could actually make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. They are saying right now that McKenna's going to be playing on that first line. Yeah, which is that's surprising to me. But that's a great way to start your NHL career, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, in college, he was amazing. He was definitely the number 1 pick this year for sure, for a reason. And I'm excited to see him and Austin Matthews play together and see what that looks like. Getting strong goaltending night in and night out really changes the game, because I think that Toronto is really struggling with, the 2-1, the 1-0, those close games. And when you get somebody like Bob, even though he's coming off of, not a great season last year, Florida had some injuries last year. And, definitely. So you may not have gotten their best play defensively for him. But, Toronto's at it, some Radish, another good defenseman. And I think, you add those kind of pieces in place, you're going to get more consistent play on a night in, night out basis. It's really going to come on to playoff time, right? And when you have a goaltender like Bob, who's been there, who's won before, you gotta like those chances for them. But like I said, you got Carolina. And that top 6, they were very impressive, and they didn't even have goaltending, and they still were able to do it. They were juggling their goaltenders in the playoffs, but Rod Brind'Amour, my favorite hockey player. That's a shameless plug right there, but Rod is he's a high tempo guy, and he coaches that team the way that he played. And, I loved watching him play. And, when I was growing up, I wanted to play like him. And it was just hustle, 50-50 pucks. It's those little things that he coaches to that, makes a team be elite, right? And, Toronto's going to have to, go through them at some point in time. And it's... not to say that Austin Matthews hasn't gotten over the hump in those big games, but like a coach like Brind'Amour will make his players better. So, we'll see how that plays out. I say Toronto definitely is going to be better for sure. Excited to see them play, and I don't think Stanley Cup is probably there this year, but that's not to say down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny that you did mention Brind'Amour and the Hurricanes, because it seems like they're taking the same type of approach with this new era of hockey, it seems like, with multiple goalies that really could be starters in their own right, still having Stolars as well. But yeah, I really like this team. But now let's talk a little bit about a team out in Anaheim. There was a lot of noise about the Ducks, and maybe the GM was facing a lot of heat, a lot of backlash because of, some of the losses, some of the guys that really he could have re-signed and moved on from or traded away. I'm talking about guys like Jamie Drysdale, Rickard Rakell, Hampus Lindholm, Josh Manson, Trevor Zegras, and just recently Mason McTavish, just to name a couple of here. But you know, what almost happened, it did not happen, but, you know, the Philadelphia Flyers actually signed Leo Carlsson, one of the better centers at only 21 years old, to a massive $90 million deal. And, you know, it didn't look good at first for Anaheim, but they ended up matching the offer sheet. I believe that was yesterday. And, you know, so what actually also, you know, I normally say who my favorite teams are. I try to be not biased. Do you want to tell people who your favorite team is when it comes to hockey or any sport, or do you want to remain?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I'm a Flyers guy.
And so, what do you think about being that close to almost signing Leo?
So I think, you know, obviously, you sign that, you know, top center at what, he's 21 years old.
Yeah. I
mean, anytime you can make that decision, I'm all for it. I think it would have been amazing to have him here. Yeah, we would have paid a lot for him. But hey, you know, we don't know what he's going to, you know, play out to be. He could be, you know, worth that money in 5 years. So I really like Danny Briere, you know, taking that step and really putting the pressure on the Ducks. And I think Pat Verbeek has to go back and think about what he did there. I mean, if he could have got him for $15 million a year, right, then you jump on that. You jump on that right away. That's a top center. You know, is going to be the face of your franchise. To make that mistake and not, you know, sign him right away at $15 million, to me is silly. But hey, you know, the Flyers didn't get him, and he stays with the Ducks. And I think maybe, I mean, I don't want to throw it out there, but hey, you know, the whole Cutter Gauthier thing, you know, was Briere like, hey, let's make this offer, and they said they were gonna match anything. So if they're gonna match this, it definitely puts a stranglehold on the cap in years to come. Are they going to be able to sign Cutter? You know, like, is that going to be
that is the question?
Is that going to be a problem? You know, and what it looks like down the road. You know, we don't know if they're going to lose guys or not. But you know, right now, anytime you can get a 21-year-old, you know, with those kind of stats in his first year, number one center, you got to sign him.
Yeah, and you know what I didn't mention, I said it's a $90 million contract, but for people that don't know, that's $18 million a year for a 21-year-old center. And, you know, coming into, before the season started last year, the Minnesota Wild actually made Kirill Kaprizov the top paid player in the league at $17 million. I'm not sure what his age is, but I'm pretty sure he's older than 21. So, you know, this is kind of a big gamble that, like you said, really it was Danny Briere put the pressure on Pat Verbeek to get this done. And because of this, we don't know what kind of fallout may happen. Like you mentioned, Cutter Gauthier, you know, they're going to have to get him re-signed. And with this $90 million deal, it doesn't leave a whole lot of room in the cap space for Anaheim. And, but overall, you know, for anybody that wants to say, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff going around that Anaheim should think about firing Pat Verbeek. Well, I just want to let it be known, with all the guys that they have lost, let's run down all this stuff here. Mason McTavish was traded on draft day just a few weeks back to the St. Louis Blues for not one but two first-round draft picks. Then you look at when we also traded Jamie Drysdale, we got a second-round draft pick and Cutter Gauthier. Zegras, we also traded to Philly for Ryan Poehling. Poehling and Gauthier were two of the best players on Anaheim last year and was, you know, largely part of the reason why Anaheim made a playoff run. Then you look at some of these other guys too, like Ricard Raquel. We ended up getting a second round pick for him in 2022. A guy named Tristan Lanu, who I don't think that he has started, but this year he is projected to be a starter for Anaheim. We also ended up getting a first-round pick for Lindholm. which turned out to be Nathan Gaucher. And he was showing something last year that he could be one of the top centers maybe on Anaheim in the next couple of seasons here. Josh Manson, we ended up getting Drew Hellison for him, who was very good for us at times last year, one of the defensemen. And then we also, for Josh Manson, got a 2023, a second-round pick in goalie Damian Clara, who is the very first Italian-born player from Italy that is, in the NHL. And really, he showed some great things during the Olympics for Team Italy. He in the opening game versus Sweden, he had a .911 save percentage and stopped 46 of 49 shots. So, he's not on the active roster right now, but in the next couple of years, we'll see if we can get him on that NHL level and maybe be, a second decent goalie, backing up Lucas Dostal. And also another thing about Pat Verbeek, he was an assistant for Steve Yzerman with Detroit for 3 years and again for 9 years in Tampa. And he also won a Stanley Cup playing when he was with Dallas in '99. So you got to think the man knows what he's doing. It had been 9 years since Anaheim made the playoffs. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about that, Bones? Or
I will say that I do give Pat Verbeek a lot of credit. He hasn't been afraid to make the unpopular move, right? He traded Seagrass. He, like you said, he moved McTavish. And he matched the $90 million offer sheet for Leo Carlsson. So he has a vision of what he wants, right? And what that roster looks like. And if that's what it is, then you got to trust in Verbeek, right? They're going to be exciting this year. And, I would say that, he probably is going to think about his negotiations with players going forward, but I think he does have a vision, and I think that, I don't think he should be fired for this, until we see what happens. You still have him, right?
Yeah.
You still have, your number one center. You still got a good core, and I'm sure he's going to try to do some other things. So, yeah, I don't think firing him is the way to make it happen. And he's not afraid to take chances. And, I'm sure there's probably something lurking that he's got going on that he wants to make happen.
And we'll certainly be paying close attention to see what ends up happening with Cutter. But yeah, so now
when he comes to Philly, he's going to get booed. I'm just going to say that. I will be booing him.
Hey, I completely understand that.
Yes.
Speaking of Philly, though, why don't you go ahead and tell us, all the insight about what's been going on with the Flyers right now?
Well, first off, let's just say big strides last year, to first off, make the playoffs, because I didn't think that was going to happen. So we make the playoffs. We beat Pittsburgh, our rivals, with a very young team, inexperienced team. You got to love that. And, adding Trevor Zegras was great. And you got Konechny, Tibbet, Michkov, he went back a little bit last year, but that's okay. Hopefully he comes in the camp in shape, ready to go. And, you get those guys going, I could see them probably around 98 points, probably 5th or 6th. There's going to be teams ahead of them. I think definitely I'm looking forward to playoffs. And even Danny Briere had said that, with the success that we've had, we could take a step back next year. So, but what's that look like, right? Does that mean not making the playoffs? I really wouldn't like that, but does that mean maybe a first round, exit? Okay. But, I think Danny and, Jonesy have a plan, and they're, we need a top center is what we need. We need that, and I'm sure they're going to figure out a way to make it happen.
We're not getting Leo.
Yeah, we're definitely not getting Leo, and obviously you could see that when we played Carolina, we were outclassed. Speed, just everything that game. They just couldn't do anything. The forecheck from Carolina was just unbelievable. We couldn't get the puck out of the zone half the time, and really couldn't possess the puck, and they took advantage of that. There were times, we had like 5-6 minutes where we looked like we could hang with them, but we were definitely not in that class. So there's definitely work that needs to be done with the Flyers, but I really like where we're going, and I like Leonard in there as our goaltender. I think that they're gonna be decent, and I'm looking for playoffs. I'm looking for what we did last year, right? I'm looking for a second round. That's what my expectations are. I think Danny's probably aren't as high, but they're doing the right things. We finally have with Jonesy and Danny in there, they're doing the right things, and Danny's got making that offer and putting it to the Ducks is not making friends with other GMs out there for sure. But that's not what it's about. It's about making your team better. So yeah. I'm excited for them.
And yeah, I agree. As we were just talking about the Ducks, it was the first time in 9 seasons that they made the playoffs. With the Flyers, I believe it was the first time in 6 years, I think?
It was, yeah.
So, and I got to be honest, I also did not think that Philly was going to make the playoffs. I was looking the last 3 weeks of the season, watching what was happening with the wild card positions. There was about 5 teams, I believe, fighting for both of the wild card spots. And Philly avoided the wild card spot and ended up getting second, I believe. So, right. Yeah, the number 2 spot in their division. And, I honestly thought that Pittsburgh was going to beat Philly. But then when I thought about it logically, their team is an older team, obviously, with Malkin and Crosby and Letang and some of the other guys, Ricard Raquel. So when you really think about it, with that younger matchup against Philly and the older guys, which are the best players really still for Pittsburgh, they're getting reduced minutes, and Philly it was a really good matchup for the Flyers. And then, like you said about playing against Carolina, Carolina's defense they really are a suffocating defense, and I think, quite frankly, that Vegas was lucky to get any wins at all against Carolina, which is saying a lot because Vegas has only been in the league for so many years and has already been to the Stanley Cup 3 different times. And, but yeah, when it comes to Philly going into this next year now, with Vladar getting this new 5-year deal, $27.5 million, 5.5 is going to be his average salary starting in 2027. And they also have a decent tandem of their own in the net, with Joseph Wall coming over, obviously, from Toronto. And, I really can't say enough good things about Philly, except for the simple fact that I wish they would stop stealing Anaheim Duck players. But, other than that, they really are. I mean, when you look at some of these young and up-and-coming teams, you got Montreal, Philly, Anaheim. I want to even say Buffalo probably is a part of that. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be some really good days for Philly, coming soon. I mean, I don't know how far they will go this upcoming year. The Eastern Conference is very tough. Florida, is going to be back. Carolina is going to be right back in it. Mm-hmm. Now you have Toronto to worry about.
Yep.
And like I mentioned, Montreal, Buffalo. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else I could say, really. But, they really have a very talented young squad. They got the right guy with the coach. Briere is, doing whatever he can to better this team. And
they're young.
Yeah.
They're young, and what I like is that they're putting faith in these young guys, and they're playing them. I think in the last regime, they really didn't play their young guys. They would rather go out and get like a veteran, a name that that's just, and I'm not going to say names, but like not going to give you what you're not building for anything at that point, right? And they're building something here. So I'm okay on a 2-year plan right now, and I expect them to make some moves and get in position to where we can be competing in those top 3 spots.
Yeah. And it makes sense. When you think of Philly teams, you got to trust the process, right? That's always been
trust the process. And that process is hard to trust sometimes, though.
Yeah, I can see that. So the last topic for NHL that I wanted to get to was, Edmonton. I mean, we've seen them go, back-to-back Stanley Cups. They couldn't get it done either time against the Florida Panthers. And, honestly, I liked Skinner and I liked Pickard as their goaltenders, and now it's only 2 years removed from those Stanley Cups, and neither goalie is there. They thought they made a good move last year, bringing in Jari, I believe, from Pittsburgh. That did not work out. They also dealt with some injuries, but McDavid and Draisaitl, they could not do it alone. And I think one of the things was that may have hurt them, in my opinion, was not taking back Corey Perry, another great veteran for them. But also they needed to address the obvious, which is the goaltender position. And now I think that they have maybe done that, in going out in free agency, I believe it was. And they ended up getting Frederik Andersen. Now, he did have some struggles with Carolina. We've seen that. But overall, other than, maybe 4 games throughout the playoffs, he completely turned everything around from the regular season. The regular season, Andersen was not great last year. Came time for the playoffs, except for, like I said, maybe 3 or 4 games, he was lights out. So how much do you think that that's going to help Edmonton and Connor McDavid going into this year?
So Andersen is one of those guys. He's a streaky guy. Solid, though. Solid, right? It's tough with the Oilers because you have 2 of the best players in the league, and in Connor and Draisaitl, and they just have not built what they need. And what they needed, it was to get better defense and better goaltending. So you see how Toronto goes and gets a guy like Bob, right? If I'm the GM of the Oilers, that's my number 1 goal right there. You bring in Andersen, he's gonna win you some games, but is he gonna be the guy? Here's the deal. Carolina, Rod Brindamore makes a decision. I forget what game it was. Maybe after, was it game 1 they switched in the Stanley Cup? But they moved goalies.
Maybe it was game 2. I think.
Game 2?
I think.
You're changing goalies at that point. Number 1, you gotta, why, right? What are you looking at? You're seeing that the few goals that he let in, Brindamore must have thought they were weak, right? And needed to change something up. Worked well, worked great, and it's a great coaching move. But is that the guy that's going to put the Oilers over the edge? And I don't think that is. I think that Andersen's going to be fine for them, but I think they're going to be in that purgatory where they've been until they really solidify that blue line and get a goalie in there that is going to play every single day, and it's a shame because we're watching, I play ice hockey now, 45 years old, right? Not saying, and I played roller hockey in college, not saying that I'm on any kind of level that they are. But what I'm saying is I've seen a lot of hockey, and just seeing Connor McDavid step on the ice and watch him in warm-ups, he's light years better than anybody out there. His feet are so quick. He's just beyond everybody else. And you can see that. You don't see that with a lot of it's hard to see the difference in talent a lot of times in the NHL if you're just like the common fan, because they're flying out there. They're all really good. They can all skate. They can all score. They can all, do most of the things. But watching him do what he does it's just like years better. And then you add Draisaitl to that, and I feel like there's a lot of wasted talent that's going on right there. And it's a shame because I do like both of those guys. And I would really like to see that team take a step forward. And I still don't think that they're there yet.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I hadn't been paying close attention to the NHL for a while. I was a little more invested in the NBA, and honestly, McDavid was kind of the reason why I started gravitating back into hockey. I mean, even as a Ducks fan, when we had Trevor Zegras, the things he can do, he's a very skilled player.
Oh, yeah.
But McDavid is like times 10. Yeah. I don't know, maybe times 5, times 10 of that. And, the puck handling, the skating, everything, the passing, he's an incredible player. And I found myself rooting for the Edmonton Oilers in both of those Stanley Cups. Plus, it was also easier because I also like Draisaitl, and they had Corey Perry, who obviously came from the Ducks. But, one thing that I was wondering is, why Anderson, and why not try to make a move for Connor Hellebuck? Because Winnipeg, I don't know what happened from one year to the next.
Yeah,
but
I would have liked that move better.
Right, that would have been incredible.
I would have liked that move better. But Anderson, he did play in the Stanley Cup. He did win. The Stanley Cup. He was on a big part of that, and they are hoping that he takes another step forward this year. So I think I'm not sure what the numbers were for Connor if he was available, but maybe you make a move to get somebody, but they felt that was going to be the best spot, and then you got Mike Babcock coming in.
Yeah, that whole situation.
That's a whole situation there. He's old school, right? And coming up playing, I'm 45, and like I said, not that I am comparing myself to them in any way, but I've played for coaches over the years that were hard. It was a different time coming up, and I like a hard coach, pushing you, skating you, no pucks. We're skating the first half of practice. We're skating circles. We're doing suicides. We're doing every skating drill to build, tolerance and being able to, in a third period late in a game when the other team's starting to, fade out, all that skating that you do, you're going to be, better and be more conditioned. Babcock's on another level, and the things that he does, I don't agree with. I don't even know how they let him back into the NHL, to be honest with you. There's a lot of things with him, but hey, listen, maybe being out and all the stuff that he went through, maybe he's going to have a different approach to the younger guys. Maybe he's going to have a different approach to it, because there's no doubt he's a good coach, right?
Yeah.
I just think he just gets on a power trip and goes a little sideways. But hey, let's see what that does too. I mean, that's going to play into this for sure.
Yeah, I was shocked when I seen that Anaheim was going to be playing Edmonton in the first round. I mean, I thought that maybe there was a way that we could take Edmonton down because of their situation with their goaltending, but I didn't think that it was going to look quite like that. McDavid didn't really get to do a lot in that, and I mean, they don't have the greatest goalie in Anaheim. I mean, Lucas Dostal, he's decent. He's still up and coming. He's still learning, but yeah, I just hope that they figure out whatever they got to for Edmonton, because the time is ticking, and we really want to see one of the best players in NHL history eventually get to win a Lordo, and that's what it's about. And I think we're going to go ahead from here now and head over to the hardwood and discuss a little bit of NBA. Okay, so, a lot of things have been happening as well with NBA free agency. Some things that maybe we did not expect. Some things that we may have seen coming. Now, if I asked you which team or, which teams in all do you think have made the most surprising moves thus far, what would you say? Because me personally, I seen Kawhi Leonard leaving the Clippers. That looked like, that was going to happen. It had to happen after what they did in the middle of the season and ripping everybody else away from them. I don't know that I seen him going back to Toronto, though. And I'm trying to think what else here. John Morant, he's had somewhat of a bad history recently with Memphis, and he went from looking like the next Allen Iverson to, having stuff off the court, dealing with a lot of injuries, apparently not having the best relationship with some of the players in the locker room and some of the coaches. That one definitely surprised me to see him go to Portland. But I think the most surprising move that nobody really expected was to see Jaylen Brown get traded within the division to the Philadelphia 76ers. What do you think, Bones?
I mean, I'll tell you, that is one of the most mind-boggling trades I've seen, and it's great for us, right? I'll say obviously I'm a Sixers fan. To pair him up with Maxey and Edgecombe, I think is going to be great. And I don't even talk about the big man. And it's not because I'm hating on him, because I'm not. It's going to be what Joel can bring, right?
When he can bring
it. Is he going to be healthy? Because if he's going to be healthy, they're going to be good. And we were in doom for the next 3 to 5 years with those contracts for Paul George, Embiid. We're looking at another season where we're not going to be relevant, right? And for your rival, right, to give you their best player.
Only a few seasons removed from winning a championship, too.
And MVP of the conference finals, right?
Yeah.
MVP of the finals?
Yeah. He was fourth in the MVP discussion this year.
I just think that no matter what, let's just say you're going to move on from him. Boston's like, we can't, we were offering him out there for Giannis. It didn't work out. He's mad about it, and this isn't going to work. Okay, completely understand that. But under no circumstances do you think about calling Philadelphia up and saying, hey, what will you give us for Jaylen Brown? I just think that's, I think that is a fireable offense. I'm sorry. I really do. Now, obviously, he had a, he was the coach of, his name is slipping my mind.
Italian guy.
Steven.
Brad. Steven?
Yeah. I just can't believe, like, who do you go to when you make that move? You gotta have a room of people, and you're like, let's analyze this. What is the city of Boston? They're going to take you out front and tar and feather you if this doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think the most mind-blowing of this whole, free agent, even though this was a trade, I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest blockbuster for me, no matter what, because it's to a rival. It's to a rival.
I don't think that there's many people out there that would disagree with that. Like I said, I mean, it shocked everybody. I mean, the NBA analysts, insiders, they were saying maybe teams like Portland or Detroit, maybe even Denver got into the discussion at one point. And in all honesty, as a Nuggets fan, I knew that there wasn't real potential behind that because Brad Stevens said that he was looking for 4 first-round draft picks. Did he get it? No, he did not. He got 2, and he got, I don't want to say washed up, but kind of, on a downward slump right now in Paul George. I mean, Philly brought Paul George in to get the production that they ended up getting out of their rookie in VJ Edgecombe. So it really is. It's insane. And you got to think that maybe they should have entertained a team in the Western Conference. And even though you may not have gotten 4 first-round draft picks, if they would have sent him to a team like Denver, you could have got Jamal Murray, possibly Aaron Gordon, maybe Christian Brown, all in return, plus maybe a draft pick. So I don't really know what Boston's going to look like going into this year. It's nuts. And I mean, I don't really have anything else on that level of the surprise element. Like I said, like Kawhi, I didn't really see him going back. The whole Eastern Conference, really, in my opinion, within the last 3 weeks, I think the Eastern Conference might actually be slightly more dominant now than the Western Conference with all these moves that have happened. But it's crazy. And Embiid, if he were to get hurt, I feel as though Philly's still going to be okay. I mean, because they still have the 3 guys that can all get 40 points.
I mean, Tatum got hurt last year, right? And who carried him?
Exactly, Jaylen Brown.
He carried him. So, like, where they got to, right? And Tatum came back, right? But where they got to the playoffs and where they finished was all Jaylen Brown. And then the Sixers beat them and then trade them their best player. Thanks. So we'll take that. And there's I don't think it's going to happen, but let's just say that LeBron does come to Philly. I know he's probably going to go home. I don't know if he's going to go to Miami or not. But it's out there, right? And but if he does come to Philly, this city's going to go crazy, and they're going to be selling out every night, and it's going to be very exciting. And anybody who's complaining about who's going to get the ball and all that other stuff, that I don't think that really matters right now. You just enjoy that. You would have Embiid, LeBron, Jaylen Brown, Maxey, and Edgecombe.
That's going to be difficult. As good as the rest of the Eastern Conference is right now, that's going to be difficult for anybody. I mean, even if Embiid only plays, say, 50 games and, say, LeBron wants to take 20 games off, well, we know, that's a given.
He's not playing back-to-back. So, he's not gonna play enough games to qualify for anything. I don't think he's played enough games in 3 years now to qualify for MVP or anything like that. So, just take that off the table. And that's fine. That is okay, because I feel that they've built more. They built more of a bench, and that's what they didn't have. They didn't have a bench, and so this city will go crazy if LeBron comes here. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to go home to Cleveland. But let's just say this: he wants to win another championship. Where right now, out of those 3 teams, what team's going to give you the best shot? I mean, the best player, you're going to want to go and play with the best player. To me, Jaylen Brown is the best player.
And when healthy, I mean, you can really make an argument about Embiid as well. And Maxey.
Hey, Maxey's not too bad either, right? So, what are we talking about here? There's a chance that he could come here. Now, LeBron did this to us before in his last go around, right? Where he was like, I may go to Philly. And maybe it was just Philly also saying that we wanted him, right? But I hate that he does this. I just want him to make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, his agent, Rich Paul, said at one point, I believe every team had tried to request a meeting with LeBron. I mean...
Why not?
And, it was crazy to me with Denver, the fact that... they have such a high, they don't have a lot of salary cap room left right now, which you would think that wouldn't really restrict us from getting LeBron, because now at this point, he wants a championship. But, it seems like they're out of the mix. But I often think, him and Jokic, if they would have gotten a chance to play together, the IQ level between those two, it would be like playing, like having Bird and Magic Johnson on the same team. But also I wanted to get back with Philly just to how you brought up the salary and, when they had Paul George along with Maxey and Embiid making all over $40 million, that's the only team in the NBA that had three players making $40+ million a year. So the interesting thing is...
And not contending.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
So huge contracts, just you're not relevant and you're paying a ton of money. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. That was good. But like, it's crazy because, that's why Daryl Morey ended up getting fired.
Absolutely.
But also, I'm interested to see how much money they have left in their salary cap, because you go from Paul George, who I believe was making $54 million or was due to make $54 this year, I believe, and then Jaylen Brown, I think, is going to be making about 57. So he's going to be making more. And they were talking about, maybe it was just because they weren't contending. I don't know. But I was thinking, what if it's not over for Philly right now? What if maybe something happens and somebody calls, like a team like maybe Minnesota, and says, we got Rudy Gobert, we want Joel Embiid?
I don't think that money works. I'm not sure what that money looks like, but I would say it's going to be hard to move Embiid. I don't think that happens, and I think it's a money issue, and I think he's going to end up playing the rest of his contract out here. Because I don't think we're going to be able to move him, and it's okay. I don't think that we should move him, because when he is healthy, he can dominate on both ends of the floor, right?
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have to be the guy every night now, right? And because he doesn't have to be the guy every night, maybe that changes. Maybe he plays less minutes, right? And obviously he's not going to play all the games. So whatever you get out of the big guy, right, it should really save his career at this point, because he wasn't going to win anything and we weren't going to move him. So I don't think that Rudy Gobert, and listen, if that happens, I wouldn't even want to do that. I'd rather take my risk paying the big guy with what we have right now, even not getting LeBron. I'd rather take that risk, because I feel like Embiid can be the best player in the league, right? And I feel like you gotta take that chance and just ride that out. And I think we should ride Embiid until the wheels fall off at this point, because you can't do anything anyway.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it. So whatever you get out of him, if it's 75% of what his, MVP year was, I'll take it. Because I feel like we have a good supporting cast. But I don't think that we're going to be able to move him realistically in any kind of package.
Yeah, no, with the amount of money that he's due to make for the rest of his time in Philadelphia on the current contract, at least, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And going back to LeBron, so, like, that's an interesting thing. Like you just said, Embiid, is at the point now, getting Jaylen Brown and having Edgecombe and having Maxey and even some of these guys. Dean Wade is he's okay. He's a decent guy. Right now, he's scheduled, I believe, to be their power forward. But if they do go out and get LeBron, the same thing could be said about LeBron, because he would be coming into a team where he already has maybe 2 or 3 guys that can score 30, maybe 40 in a game. So LeBron wouldn't have to do a lot either. And him and Embiid, maybe he could help Embiid out by also playing the center position at times. Whatever you got to do to get to the point where everybody's healthy to get into the playoffs, that's really what matters the most. But the other 2 teams that really were looking like they were serious for LeBron are the 2 teams that he played for before, either going home to Cleveland, as you already mentioned, or maybe going to Miami. And as intriguing as Miami may be for LeBron, for maybe because back in Miami, you're around the beach, and I believe they have like a good golf course. He's really into golf nowadays.
There's plenty of good golf there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, other than that, that would be, I just don't see it happening. I mean, he could fit in realistically with anybody, but him, Giannis, and Bam all on the same team, all on the court at the same time, I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of big guys. I mean, I think it all would come down to, if he was going to go to Miami, it would be for Eric Spoelstra, right? I mean, so if you're going to look at, who's going to make something happen, I mean, he's a great coach. He's probably one of the best coaches, and LeBron knows the organization. He knows the culture, and he could go back and try to win another title there, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing with that. I really do think that LeBron, what is he, 41?
40, yeah, I believe he'll be turning 42 at some point during the season.
And it's crazy that I'm going to say this, but I think he has 3 to 4 years left. I mean, if you look at these numbers, I mean, 24.8.
Almost averaging 7.6
rebounds, 8 assists, 51 field goal percentage. Yeah, 41. He could say, I'm going to go to either Philly or I'm going to go to Miami and try to win a championship right now. And then he could say, and sign 1 2-year deal, and then go back to Cleveland. Because I feel like he's going to want to retire in Cleveland, right?
Honestly, it makes too much sense.
Everybody wants to.
It really does.
All players most likely want to retire in the city. Like even AI went out and played Denver or wherever, and then you want him to retire as a Sixer, right? That just seems to be the trend. But is he going to want to go to Cleveland for 3 years right now?
I don't think so.
Maybe. I mean, it's not like they're too far off, right? They got some good pieces there, but I mean, the Miami thing, I think if he's going to Miami, it's really because of the coach.
Well, see, the thing about Cleveland, though, that makes me think maybe he wouldn't want to go. I don't know what type of a relationship, if any, that he has with James Harden. But, when I think of James Harden playing with LeBron, I think of back when J.R. Smith was with LeBron, and he really, really let LeBron down. And what's been the consistent thing that we've been saying about James Harden? Come playoff time,
he can't get it done. Harden is one of the craziest, he's like a... I don't even know how to explain it.
He's an all-time elite scorer in the regular season.
Yeah. And, then when it comes to playoff time, it's like he stubs his toes on himself. He's just a bizarre player, and at times I feel, and watching him on the Sixers, there were times where I felt like his effort was an F.
Yeah.
Right? And this goes back to, I'm going to always go back to, me and when I play sports, right, and how I played them. And I played just sport. It didn't matter if I was in the tennis court playing, hockey in the tennis court with friends. It didn't matter if I was in a playoff game. It didn't matter if I was playing baseball, wooden bat league, men's league. I played every game as hard as I could. And, to watch some of these guys, and especially Harden, getting paid all this money, and sometimes his effort was lackluster. I hate seeing that. I hate seeing lackluster from these guys making all this money, lackluster, when us men's leagues guys are going out there and have to get up for work tomorrow, giving it all, not making a dime, maybe going to get hurt, and can't even go to work the next day, right? Give it your all out there. Give it your all. Leave it on the table. And if I'm LeBron, I don't want to go play with Harden. I want to go play with Maxey. I want to go play with Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. I would want to play with him.
But. And they do have a really good roster other than Harden. They also have Dennis Schroeder, who actually showed up better in the playoffs than Harden at times, which is why the coach was getting some grief by the media, because they were saying, maybe let's go to one of these hungrier guys like Max Strus or Schroeder. And he said, absolutely not. I have a future Hall of Famer in Dennis and James Harden, rather. And it's funny because he might be the only future Hall of Famer to have never have really kept that consistent play level come playoff time. Okay. And the other thing that's really funny that I always think of when I think of Harden, that clip where he goes when he was on the Clippers and he tries to block Kawhi Leonard's shot in the middle of a game. It was regular season, but that's not the point. Yeah.
He's a bizarre dude.
He's a very funny guy, but there's time for jokes and stuff like that, and that's in the off season. Come game time, you got to put your best forth,
every time.
And if I was LeBron, I don't know that I would really. I get it, going home and possibly being able to bring your son with you. And I do agree with what you said, seeing that he's still averaging a triple-double almost at 41 years of age. I think that he wants to stay true to what he told the media just a few years ago, that he wants to play out his dream, which is to be able to play with both Bronny and Bryce. Bryce was a red-shirted for Arizona State, I believe it was, last season. So, realistically, maybe after this year he could enter the draft. Maybe next year. I don't see him playing 4 years before entering the draft, even if it's because LeBron just wants him to come into the NBA quicker. And one thing about Bryce, he actually, believe it or not, he looks like he's going to have a better career than Bronny. So I think that LeBron definitely wants to see that through. And like you said, who knows? Maybe he'll sign with Miami. Maybe he'll sign with Philly. Wait a couple of years. Maybe wait for Harden to leave Cleveland and then go to Cleveland to end his career with both of his sons. That would be a special thing there. So the last box we got to check here, like I said earlier, the Nuggets, it looked like maybe they were also in the sweepstakes to try and, come up with something to bring LeBron in. I know he's got close relationship with the Kroenkes, the owner of the Denver Nuggets, but it doesn't look like that's going to come true now. So as of right now, the Nuggets, they still haven't addressed the number one thing that's been holding them back, which is bringing in a viable backup to Nikola Jokic. Like we were talking about with Connor McDavid, it seems as though Denver, yes, they won their first ever championship in 2023, and that was largely because of Jokic, obviously, but this could be the best player in NBA history to have only gotten 1 ring when he really should have maybe gotten 2, 3, or even 4. You look at the past 5, 6 NBA champions, and, a lot of those teams are diluted from what they were. You look at the Denver Nuggets, they still have AG, they still have Jamal Murray, they still have Jokic. They brought Bruce Brown back, and they still have Christian Brown. So for them to keep these pieces and pay the salary that they're paying to these guys, for one, they have to re-sign Peyton Watson. He's arguably the best defensive player, if not the second, to Aaron Gordon on this team, which is the most important thing for them to address. But now it's looking like, because they're up against the second apron, they don't really have a lot of wiggle room to bring in any high-profile guys. And, me personally, I looked a little into this, and it looks like we may have a real possible shot at signing DeMar DeRozan. Now, DeMar DeRozan, at this point in his career, I don't think, just like LeBron, I don't think he's worried so much about his salary. He's already made over $300 million. He's 37 years old, and he has yet to play for a true contending team. And even though, he may lack some defense, he's not really the best three-point shooter, which is, one of the greatest things about the Denver Nuggets. Their whole team has really raised their level of play from three-point. Most of the guys are right around 40% from three, including Nikola Jokic. But DeMar DeRozan, he's still, at 37 years old, in my opinion, one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. And I don't know if you want to touch on this or not, but...
I don't think Denver needs another star, and obviously they can't afford that, so that's not going to happen. Their bench, right? That's pretty much what they need to do, and you're not going to get a star coming off the bench, right? But, you can go out and look at, maybe a perimeter defender, somebody who doesn't need the ball, because I think that they're going to have the scoring that they need. I would say that they need to look at getting their bench and getting some support for, Joker out there, because he can't play every minute. And I feel like that's probably, a big deal for them. And also they just don't have the money to go out and get anybody that's going to, really make a difference. But you can get some bench players that can give you some minutes, and that's what they need.
Absolutely. And actually, I don't think that Bruce Brown is under contract. So that's another thing that they have to look at. They have to try to re-sign him. They still have, I believe, Peyton Watson. I think his agent is looking for about $24-25 million a year right now. And he is a restricted free agent. So, Denver will have the opportunity. I believe they get 48 hours to match any offer that comes in for Peyton Watson. But, and Aaron Gordon, with him having the injury problems he's had the past couple of years, which is really the number one reason why Denver fell to Minnesota 2 years in a row. You would want to keep Peyton Watson because he can play that backup position to Aaron Gordon at the 4. And other than that, it's not really a lot of pieces that they could get their hands on out in free agency.
Chris Bashore, maybe?
Yeah, so, like I said, DeMar DeRozan makes sense because maybe he can help, coming off the bench, but in terms of defense, like you said, that's not really going to help address the defense. But, Valanciunas, I was sure that Valanciunas was not going to come back, and that's exactly what happened. He looked like the best possible fit to play the same type of, have the same type of skill sets as a Nikola Jokic. It did not work out. So from here, I'm not really sure where they go because did get a decent rookie and Trevon Brazile, who came from Arkansas. So, but it looks like they're going to have him at the 4. But the backup right now is going to be Aaron Gordon for Jokic. And that's not going to be sustainable because, again, with all these soft tissue injuries, he's going to need to reduce his minutes as well. And Zeke Naji, it looks like he could be on his way out if somebody makes some kind of offer for him. But yeah, other than that, I don't really know what else Denver would do. I just think their best option in terms of scoring would be DeRozan. But I think that's going to be everything for NBA. I'm forgetting his name here. It doesn't look like he's going to be a long-term option for them. They